podcast listeners. You are listening to a mini episode of That's Auntertainment, a Karaoke Korner mini episode to be specific. And I am your pop culture maven, Jeff Malone. And yeah, Karaoke Korner, another one. Number 39, if you can believe it. 3 times 13. It's Memorial Day weekend that this here episode will be dropping into your podcast feeds. It's a beautiful weekend for music. Any weekend is beautiful for music, but I'd say Memorial Day weekend especially so. Forecast looks like a mix of rain and maybe some sun for the weekend. I don't know, it's interesting. Hopefully you can find some time for the pool. But if not, if you gotta take shelter, why not head to your nearest karaoke bar or whip out your nearest karaoke machine or microphone if you have any at home or a friend's home or a family member's home. Because I don't know, I think the end of May is a perfect time to be singing, don't you? Well, with that in mind, I've got some suggestions for some songs that you might like to sing. Now, in case you haven't heard any episode of That's Auntertainment before, the premise of the show is that my co-hosts and my Aunt Beth and I, we talk about a pop culture topic according to the 3 F's, first, favorite, and forever. But on the mini episodes, it's usually just me on the microphone. And, there's some particular mini series where the premise is a little different. But, still in the realm of pop culture. And Karaoke Korner, wow, number 39. Oh, my God, I was just a young guppy doing my first Karaoke Korner all those years ago. Well, the premise is I am someone who loves singing at these establishments called karaoke bars. So I've developed some theories about it as well that I think could be useful to other people. So why not share them with the world? So here's how this goes. I ask someone, could you give me suggestions of a few musical artists? And then what I'm going to do is look through their discographies, spin, see and decide which of their songs, one per artist, I think is the very best for those artists to sing at karaoke. Best of those artists for you to sing at karaoke, that is. You being anyone who is listening or anyone who's not listening. Any theoretical person in the world, living or dead or future. Although, maybe not dead. Maybe I would have to adjust my criteria for dead people. Let's keep that in mind. Maybe I'll do a special Karaoke Korner episode for the deceased. But in the meantime, this is for living people and future living people. So how do I decide which songs to pick? You might be asking. Well, here's the criteria. I'm looking for songs that are familiar but not too familiar. It's ideally you would like your audience to be aware of these songs, but not to the point where it's like, oh, I hear this song every single time I go to a karaoke bar. Like, is there any way to do it differently now at this point? But if you hit that sweet spot of familiar but not too familiar, then you have something there. And I'm also looking for songs with emotional highs and lows. And ideally, somewhere in there as well, they work for the greatest number of vocal abilities and ranges. So, who do we got on the ballot this time around? Well, the suggestions come from my sister's boyfriend, Kevin, and he has given me the assignment of Audioslave, Incubus, and Linkin Park. A very alternative rock radio lineup, that is. And these are 3 bands that I've either already sung myself at karaoke or they are on my ever-growing list of songs that I'd like to sing at some point at karaoke. So, yeah, Kevin's about the same age as me. So it makes sense that he and I are drawing from a similar well of songs that are from our teenage years. And I just well, okay, let's get into it. All right, I'm ready. I hope you are too. Let's do it in alphabetical order. So we're gonna go with Audio Slave. First, that means the supergroup made up primarily of Rage Against the Machine's instrumentalists, and then vocals were provided by the late great Chris Cornell of mainly of Soundgarden. So they released a few albums in the mid 2000s. They don't have a huge discography, but they've got a few good ones that you can definitely drop if you're in a rockin' mood. And speaking of drop, I'm going to come right out and say that my selection for Audio Slave is Like a Stone. Not like Emma Stone, although maybe if Emma Stone, if you're listening, maybe this would be the perfect karaoke song for you to sing. But anyway, Like a Stone is great because it's got like a very confessional style. You can see it in the music video, the way Chris Cornell is singing it. It just feels like all your emotions are right there, fully on display. And you've got a beautiful Tom Morello solo in the middle of it. His inimitable style right there. So you can sing along to that part. That's always fun as well. Okay, on to Incubus. After Kevin suggested to me Incubus, I've started thinking, like Incubus is like the platonic ideal of alternative rock radio. Like, they were pretty big in the early 2000s. They had a string of hits from like 2000 to 2003. Although I'm looking through their discography, Dig, which was one of their biggest hits, that didn't come out until 2007. That's surprising. But anyway, the personality of alternative rock radio stations, I'm thinking of my hometown One Radio 104.5 in the Philadelphia area. They seem to have been crystallized in that era. And like for as long as alternative rock radio exists, they'll play some new songs, they'll play some classics, but I don't think they're ever going to stop playing Incubus songs. And other ones from that era. Like that is the sweet spot. When I was in middle school, essentially. And, I don't know. It seems like it was, that radio format was designed expressly for people like me. So there you go. Incubus doesn't have to be your favorite band to get what these stations are throwing down, but if you're familiar with them, then you know what they're doing. So there you go. So there's a few Incubus songs that I've heard just a ton of times, just by virtue of having the radio on. So there are a few I considered. Dig, as I mentioned, Wish You Were Here, Stellar. There are a handful of big classics, but I had to get the motor running, so I decided to settle on Drive off their 2000 album Make Yourself, their third album, and I'd say their biggest, I think. Let's see, where did it? So it was certified 2 times platinum. There you go. Anyway, I picked Drive but be careful if you do, because at least to me, the intro to Drive sounds like What It's Like by Everlast. So don't trick yourself into thinking that you're singing that rather different song. Their intros are similar, but the rest, not quite so much. Anyway, so it'll be a challenge. Can you match Brandon Boyd's range? He's actually a little tricky to sing along. To. He doesn't have so many vocal acrobatics as some other rock vocalists, but if you're not, you don't have to do an exact impression, I think, to pull this off. So don't be scared about to just try it. Now I'm making it sound like super difficult, but make it your own thing. I definitely think you can do that, and you'll be able to bite right into the emotions. And finally, we have Linkin Park. And geez, on a tragic note, Kevin gave me 2 bands with lead singers who died tragically young. I think both by suicide. Jeez. But let's make their legacies a little happier by singing our hearts out to their songs at karaoke. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah. So Chester Bennington, before he went, he gave us plenty of songs to choose from to sing along to, and I've happily done that multiple times, and I'd happily do it again. So yeah, I mean, there's Linkin Park is one of those songs where if you're a fan, you could go through their whole catalog and never get tired of all those selections. But there's one that, oh my God, this is an obvious selection for me, and it's What I've Done, which was made quite famous by its usage in the 2007 summer blockbuster Transformers. But I mean, it's just classic song composition, pop song composition. It's steady, builds, and then explodes during the chorus, and then you got that breakdown in the middle, so you can sing along to that riffing part there. This is just such a sweet spot for the current clientele at karaoke bars. Typically, they're people in their 20s and 30s, so that's the type of crowd that grew up with this type of song. So they're going to go, hey, remember where we were when we were singing this song, when it was playing nonstop on the radio, and when they sang it on Saturday Night Live, and when it was in the credits of Transformers. And speaking of, hopefully people will also think of that meme where the endings of various movies are edited to with the idea of this movie, but it came out in 2007. So the idea is like, if it had come out in 2007, it would have had What I've Done playing right at the beginning of the end credits, much like it was the case for Transformers. So there you go. Okay. Hopefully Kevin appreciates those selections, and hopefully all the rest of you do as well. If you do follow my advice, feel free to follow up and let me know how it goes. You can reach out to us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also email us at that'sauntertainmentpodcast@gmail.com. Or if you know me or Aunt Beth personally, you can let us know the next time you're having a conversation with us. And you can also, all the other good stuff. You can rate this podcast. If you give us 5 stars, maybe we'll read your review on air. Okay, and coming up soon, Aunt Beth, I think, is still currently in Italy, but she'll be back soon because we got to talk about Young Sheldon. The finale aired, and there's plenty to talk about, so that should be arriving in the not too distant future. And I guess that's everything, isn't it? Yeah, I already said the social media, and you can support us on Patreon, and keep your remotes handy and your eyes open.